I hope you're well! I never know how to start these videos, but it's always interesting and exciting to see what my mouth does. Hello everyone, welcome back to EcoBoost. My name is Kate Arnell and I got nothing. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, then I'm just going to put the little subscribe button there. You can have a think about it, you know, weigh up the pros and the cons, and then just click it. Just click it. And if you're already subscribed, then go you, as a little high five for being ahead of the game. So September is a really exciting time of the year. Not only is it the end of a magical summer, but generally it's a really lovely time of year. It's sort of the start of the harvest, start of autumn transition. I just find it really sort of exciting and magical. So that's one thing. But also it's Organic September. It's an event that happens every September for the whole month, and it's organised by the Soil Association, who are the leading organic charity here in the UK, and they have super high standards. So if you want to get Soil Association accreditation, that's fun to say. If you want to get a seal of approval by the Soil Association, then you have to meet really strict and high quality standards. So it kind of goes above and beyond just the basic minimum required for organic. So organic has been a big feature in my life. It's something I've always felt very sort of strongly about. Even as a teenager, I felt very passionate about choosing organic wherever we could, and then even more so now as an adult. Now, I recently read The Omnivore's Dilemma, which is a great book by Michael Pollan. He does talk about the sort of large organic monoculture industry that can label itself as organic. I do want to clarify that when I say organic, I'm not talking about a sort of large industrial monoculture. The organic I'm referring to is the sort that works in harmony with the environment, is biodiverse, replenishes the soil with nutrients instead of depleting it, has really high animal welfare, works with the seasons and with nature. I wanted to share with you guys just some of the reasons why I choose to go organic. I do want to give a little shout out to my mother-in-law, who has been really pro-organic since the day I met her. She sort of reawakened the organic enthusiast in me, and she really explained it in a great way, that it's not just about looking after our own health, but the bigger picture is that it's about looking after our soils and our planet, essentially. So a little shout out to my mother-in-law there, thank you. Why do I choose organic? Where to start? There are so many reasons why, so I'm just going to try and touch on a few of them. So let's go. So when I choose organic food, I feel confident in the fact that there are no nasties. And by nasties, I mean there are no genetically modified ingredients, there are no artificial food colorings or preservatives, and there are no hydrogenated fats as well. Genetically modified ingredients or genetically modified organisms are something I feel quite passionate about avoiding, and I believe that they promote the use of excessive pesticides and herbicides. Often people argue with the whole GM thing, that it's been around for 50 years and it's the way forward, and that they trust science. Well, newsflash, science isn't 100% right. It doesn't get things right first time all the time. There's a great documentary on Netflix called GMO OMG, and it's a really well-made documentary. It just sort of raises some of the questions people might have about genetically modified organisms, what they actually mean. It's basically a father's search to find out more, and he realises just how much they've sort of crept into the everyday. I also think it's a little shady that in the UK, if you buy any meat that isn't certified organic, then it's highly likely that it has been fed grain or feed that contains genetically modified ingredients. And that doesn't have to be put on the label. It seems a little crazy to me that we import over 1 million tonnes of crops a year specifically for animal feed. I do genuinely believe that cows should eat grass. So in industrial farming and a lot of non-organic farming, cows in particular will be fed grain or corn, which they're not designed to eat. They are designed to be out on the fields grazing those grasses and clovers and such. Whereas cows that have been fed on grain, it's very uncomfortable for them because they find it really difficult to digest and actually makes them bloat and sort of traps air inside their tummies. So apparently 2/3 of the antibiotics in the EU are actually used in industrial farming, and it seems such a shame that we've got antibiotics and they're great when you really need them, but most of them are going into industrial farms where it's more of a preventative measure because the way they farm is actually really unhealthy for the animals. Whereas organic farming promotes healthy animals and actually works to prevent any of those diseases happening in the first place. So by going organic, I've reduced my exposure to toxic synthetic chemicals, especially when it comes to things like food, but also makeup, beauty products, around the home. I've swapped out a lot of our cleaning products to just vinegar and bicarbonate of soda actually, but there are some incredible natural and organic cleaning products out there as well if you can't be bothered to make your own. Not to say that organic farming doesn't use any pesticides, there are just far fewer that you're permitted to use, and generally they're used at a lower level, and for me most importantly they are not man-made synthetic chemicals. In non-organic farming, I've read that 320 different pesticides can be used routinely, which is just crazy when you think about how many different synthetic chemicals that could be entering my system and that my body would have to try and deal with and process. Not only my body, but the effect that it has on the local environment and the people who are working in the fields. Farming organically promotes and supports local wildlife, and it works with nature, not against it. Animal welfare is one of the highest priorities when it comes to organic farming. It promotes good hygiene, it promotes good husbandry, so that is something that's really important to me because I am a meat eater, and I do think it's really important to know exactly where my food has come from and how it has been raised. I have found that by choosing organic, it has really reconnected me to where my food has come from. Because I was vegetarian for 13 years and I do genuinely care about how animals are farmed and looked after. Again, big organic is not the same. When it comes to farm animals, in organic farming, there are no hormones injected in order to try and make the animal grow more quickly than is natural. Whereas in industrial farming, that's something that's actually quite common. So farming organically has been said to improve the quality of the soil. By having really healthy soils, it means that the foods that we grow in those soils are going to be way more nutritious. Some recent research was done by Newcastle University, and that has kind of concluded that organic farming, especially when it comes to meat, dairy and vegetables, does actually produce a way more nutritious product at the end of it. But also, interestingly, our soils are a store of carbon. If the whole of the UK farmland was converted to organic, we would sequester 3.2 million tonnes of carbon into the soil. That's the equivalent of taking nearly 1 million cars off the road. So that means it's not released into the atmosphere, contributing towards greenhouse gases, etc. Instead, it's stored in the soil. I do firmly believe that voting with our money and sort of investing in brands and products that align with our values not only makes me feel great, but also is a way of saying I vote for that way of doing things. So I like the way that that company, that brand, that farm does things, and I want more of that. So by buying it, I'm voting for that way of doing things or that type of product. One argument against organic is that it's very expensive. I do think that in the last probably a couple of decades actually, people's priorities and where they spend their money has shifted a lot. I know that households used to spend a very large portion of their disposable income on groceries, whereas nowadays it's a heck of a lot less. Priorities have shifted. Our expectations of food and how much it should cost have been set so low with the abundance of processed foods and foods that have cut corners in order to be really cheap. So maybe they've got a few questionable ingredients in them that you wouldn't find in organic food. Instead of asking why is it so expensive, we should really rephrase that and ask why is it so cheap? What ingredients have been replaced with a cheaper alternative? So I do think you get more quality for your money when it comes to organic. There's also significant differences between the nutritional value of organic and non-organic. So recent research has shown that organic food does actually contain a heck of a lot more nutrition than non-organic food. But you know what? Even if it was exactly the same, I would still choose organic, because to me that's the way it should be done. It does almost feel like a little bit of a shame that we didn't have to use the term organic sort of 70 years ago. But because we've now got very industrialized ways of doing things, we've had to sort of come up with the term organic in order to differentiate between the two. But there you go, those are just some of the reasons as to why I personally choose organic. It's something I feel very passionate about, and I think the more people that choose organic, the greater and more positive effect it will have on our general well-being and the health of our soils and our planet and ecosystems. And I know so many friends of mine who could easily afford to choose organic, but it's just not something that they've really thought about. So I think it's definitely something that is accessible to a lot of people, but who haven't just maybe considered that it might be an option or that it could have so many benefits all around. So if you want to get involved with Organic September, I would highly recommend that you check out the Soil Association website. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. They've got loads of events going on. It's all on the Soil Association's website, so have a little look. Also, they've teamed up with lots of organic brands to offer discounts throughout September. For example, it says here there's 20% off all organic cotton nightwear with the brand Knock2. That's pretty good. There's also 20% off Natracare, which is an organic and natural feminine hygiene products brand. With the events, you can meet Naomi Smart, who is one of the biggest YouTubers around. You can meet her at Whole Foods on the 21st of September, but I think you have to like sign up on the events section, so that's cool. And there are lots of like farm open days as well, so if you do want to kind of go down, maybe find out how everything is grown, how it's harvested, how it's raised, what it's fed, or whatever questions you have, then it's a great opportunity to kind of go down and genuinely see it for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and why not watch another video? Hooray! I'm in focus. This is my focusing stick. Why don't you stick around? No, okay, fine.